day. I just wanna climb to the top of a mountain, standing tall when I'm howling. Cause today's gonna be my day, it's gonna be my day, day. Good night stress, see you in the morning. I don't gotta guess, you're always there for me. Sowing them seeds of doubt, I think you like seeing me freak out. Good night stress, see you in the morning. So I wake up, I get out of bed, stay up, stay out of my head cause it's dangerous. And I don't wanna lose my mind, no. I just wanna shine like the sun when it comes up, run the city from the rooftops, cause today's gonna be my day. I just wanna climb to the top of a mountain, standing tall when I'm howling, cause today's gonna be my day. I used to lay low, hiding in the shadows. So don't give me dark days, I already had those. I'm just trying to figure out how to be myself right now. I don't wanna lay low, hiding in the shadows. So I wake up, I get out of bed, stay up, stay out of my head, it's dangerous. And I don't wanna lose my mind, no. I just wanna shine like the sun when it comes up, run the city from the rooftops, cause today's gonna be my day. I just wanna climb to the top of a mountain, standing tall when I'm howling, cause today's gonna be my day.
Please rise. Nope. Not yet. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you.
All right. Let's give another round of applause to our soloist, Caitlin King. Caitlin is a member of the class of 2024 and is graduating from the Engineering Honors Program, summa cum laude, with Bachelor of Science degrees in Biomedical Engineering and Robotics. Thank you, Caitlin. I'm Steve Sessio, the Interim Dean of Engineering, and it is my tremendous honor to welcome you all to Chrysler Center for the graduation ceremony for the undergraduate class of 2024E. Well, it's a momentous occasion, isn't it? It's time to look back and recognize your many accomplishments, as well as the many challenges you've overcome to get where you are today. Whether you started your academic experience in the midst of a once-in-a-century pandemic, or endured through personal challenges and global tragedies, every graduate in this room has experienced a unique journey that has shaped you into the engineer you are today. You are a special group, and you made it. I encourage you to reflect on the challenges you faced and the lessons you learned because of them as you proceed forth as a graduate engineer. Now, I'd like to relate to you a lesson I learned from one of my earliest instructors. His name was Gandalf the Grey. Some of you may have heard of him, and I think wasn't he recently promoted like to Gandalf the White or something like that? Anyway, this is what Gandalf said. All we have to decide is what we do with the time that is given to us. In other words, you can't choose the times you were born into or the times that you live in, but you can choose to do with what the time you have. Now, thankfully, you won't face the same dangers that Frodo encountered on his journey to Mordor. But this quote still speaks to the opportunity we all have to step up to the challenges of our time. And as I look out in this crowd, I don't really see any hobbits, but I do see a lot of fellowship. I see future leaders, problem solvers, researchers, educators, and mentors in your communities. I see your determination and grit, your camaraderie, and your passion and desire to overcome social inequities and make the world a better place. I hope you forever cherish the memories you made here at Michigan Engineering, whether that was making a new discovery in a lab, successfully troubleshooting an issue in the Wilson Center, finding your community and bonding with peers, or celebrating, I don't know, a national championship football team. Pretty good. That's right. I will not try to mimic the Heisman pose like we saw earlier today. I'm not going to do it. You can always count on the lessons you have learned as a Michigan engineer to carry you forward, whether that was through making treks of your own between North and Central Campus, to collaborate with people from different disciplines and areas of expertise, learning from some of the strongest academic and research minds in the nation, or seeking out and understanding problems from multiple perspectives so that you can make a real positive difference in the world by putting people first. You now join one of the most accomplished groups of engineers, Michigan Engineering alumni. Take what you've learned and apply it to what's next in your journey. I look forward to learning about your continued success and the positive impact you will impart upon the world. Congratulations, class of 2024, and forever, go blue. A tradition of the college's commencement ceremony is to hear from a student. This year's student speaker is Maria Liberty Fields. Maria is graduating from the Engineering Honors Program magna cum laude with a bachelor's degree in Industrial and Operations Engineering and a double minor in Computer Science and Community Action and Social Change. While at Michigan, she co-founded the nonprofit GROW Tutoring, participated in Michigan Engineering's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Student Advisory Board, and dedicated her time on campus to teaching and mentoring. She also served as the college's elected representative to the University of Michigan's Central Student Government for 3 years, and as president of the UM chapter of the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers. Maria will be continuing her education by attending graduate school in the fall. Maria, please come forward.
Repeat after me. Those who stay will be champions. And you stayed. You made it past all the qualifying rounds, all 128 credits of it. From Zoom lectures, to making your first college friend, to navigating Michigan math, and figuring out what all the North Campus Building's acronyms mean, for the most part. I've Googled FXB UMich meaning more times than I'd like to admit. And realizing that the BBB, Dow, GGBL, EWRE, and EECS are actually all just one building, after getting lost on the first day of school again. You did it. You are a champion. For some of us, holding a golden national championship trophy after an undefeated football season with the most wins in college football history, 1,003 to be exact, is the epitome of a champion. But if we're being technical, and since we're engineers, it's only fitting. Trophies, awards, and titles do not define champions. Being a champion looks like getting accepted into Michigan and seeing confetti flash across the screen when you open the admissions portal to see the words, "Congratulations," at the top of the screen. Being a champion looks like seeing confetti flash across the screen once again, but this time for an assignment you spent way too much time on after submitting to Canvas just minutes before the deadline. Being a champion looks like receiving that first low exam score, but pushing forward with engineering because you can do it, you will do it, and you did do it. Being a champion looks like getting that EECS sticker, probably the College of Engineering's most prestigious badges of honor, for finishing that EECS class. Being a champion looks like making a new friend in office hours after bonding over the struggle of a single homework assignment. And today, being a champion looks like you, wearing a gown and cap with an orange tassel, ready to receive your well-earned Michigan engineering degree. I knew this was the home of champions when I was in high school and I had the opportunity to tour the big house and the locker rooms through the Michigan Engineering Leadership Weekend. As I made my way through the football field, through the tunnel, I jumped up and hit the top of the doorway with the words, "The team," before sprinting through the tunnel screaming like I was on my way to beat Ohio State. I learned firsthand and experienced what it means to be a champion too. Since becoming a Wolverine, I've been surrounded, supported, uplifted, and molded into a champion by my peers, faculty, and staff. I was able to start a large multicultural event and soared to new heights I had never even imagined, literally. Because of the Michigan Engineering Honors Department, I had the opportunity to visit Mount Everest. So, while some of us are holding national championship trophies, others just have 500 plus LinkedIn connections from attending engineering career fair. Regardless, we are all Wolverines, and that's what makes us champions. But while the past may seem like the best, my best is what comes next. It's game time, champions. Go Blue!
So inspiring. Thank you, Maria. Now it's my honor to welcome our keynote speaker, who will be introduced by University of Michigan Board of Regents Chair, Sarah Hubbard.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for allowing me to present to you today. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker. The Honorable Carlos Del Toro is the 78th Secretary of the Navy, where he's responsible for over 1 million sailors, Marines, reservists, and civilian personnel. Born in Havana, Cuba, Secretary Del Toro immigrated to the United States with his family as refugees in 1962. He attended public schools growing up in New York City and received an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. His 22-year naval career included a series of critical appointments and numerous tours of duty at sea. He has a background in technology and entrepreneurship and has supported programs that have included shipbuilding, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. He holds a master's in national security studies from the Naval War College, a master's in space systems engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School, and a master's in legislative affairs from George Washington University. Please welcome the Honorable Carlos Del Toro.
Good afternoon, Michigan. Oh, is that the best that you can do? Should I say go blue? Oh, don't get me off on the wrong start here. Security, please remove that individual from the audience. Just kidding. Good afternoon. It is truly, absolutely wonderful to be with you on this very special day in Ann Arbor, the heart of the Wolverine State. I wouldn't miss being with you here today for anything in the world. In fact, I flew from the opposite side of the world all night long from Hawaii, directly from meeting with our nation's top commanders in the Pacific. But I know I'm probably not the only one here that pulled an all-nighter. To be young again. It was rough flying here all night long. Family, friends, loved ones, supporters of the graduating class, and especially all of you who are parents, grandparents of these wonderful young men and women, thank you. Thank you for being here to see your graduates achieve their academic dreams. I know how important friends and family have been in everything that I've achieved in my own life. You have labored, you have encouraged, you have sacrificed to get these graduates to this moment here today, and you deserve the loudest applause here from these students. How about a loud applause for your parents, families, and loved ones? Thank you. And I expect kisses for all the moms and dads this afternoon. That's in order. The students graduating today, and indeed all of us, owe you a debt of gratitude. I was thrilled when I received your invitation to be the commencement speaker at undeniably one of our nation's greatest universities. The opportunity to join here today is one of the great honors of my life. I'm humbled and profoundly grateful to share this life milestone with you. This institution, you see, means a lot to our United States Navy, and it has for a century and a half. Indeed, this engineering school at this university in this state played an indispensable role in our national life. You are the industrial and manufacturing heartland of America. Many of you will make your careers here in the Pleasant Peninsula on America's northern coast, and I am committed to growing our department's relationship with all of you here for years to come. This school is truly a national treasure. As one example relevant to the Navy, it is the last R1 school in America that teaches naval architecture and marine engineering, from the undergraduate through the postdoc. The future of naval architecture and marine engineering education is a central pillar of my National Maritime Statecraft Initiative. And the University of Michigan is at the forefront of our efforts to rebuild our shipbuilding, both naval and commercial, and restore our nation's comprehensive maritime power. In fact, this university is one of the department's foremost academic partners to the Navy and to the department. Wolverine engineers lead the way in nearly every field of consequence to our Navy and Marine Corps, from expanding our understanding of traumatic brain injuries, to spearheading hypersonic flight, to developing complex turbulence models to make better materials for our ships. Let me be clear, America would not have the world's most powerful Navy and Marine Corps if not for this 150-year partnership here at Michigan. And in fact, for as long as you've played football at Michigan, the Department of the Navy has been your teammate. In 1879, Congress authorized a naval officer by the name of Ensign Mortimer Cooley to teach steam engineering and iron shipbuilding at this esteemed institution. He became this university's 5th professor of engineering, the youngest professor in your history, and eventually your second and longest serving dean of engineering. President Gerald Ford, perhaps Michigan's second most famous graduate behind Tom Brady, and today's commencement speaker, by the way. Wasn't he extraordinary? Don't ever forget to make the magic. But President Ford also served in the Navy during World War II aboard USS Monterey, and his historic actions helped save his own ship from sinking. And while you might know you're one of only 5 universities with a president and a Super Bowl winning quarterback amongst your alumni, you may not believe it, but the Naval Academy is that exclusive club with you as well, just not recently. But more importantly, another thing we share is the iconic Admiral Arleigh Burke, one of our most consequential and beloved Chief of Naval Operations, our nation's highest uniformed naval officer. And Secretary Don Winter, 74th Secretary of the Navy, received his PhD from the school and later taught in the university's preeminent naval architecture and marine engineering program. I make it a point of surrounding myself with our nation's very best, and that is why I also have Wolverines in key positions throughout my own staff. There's my White House fellow, Dr. Monica Deuce, a professor of neuroscience here and a fellow first-generation American as well. There's Howard Freeman, vice chair of my Science and Technology Board, and himself an AMI. And Dr. David Singer, a professor in that same department, who's an expert consultant on the future of our Navy. So, in full disclosure, I must tell you that I do have a Buckeye on one of my boards. My good friend, Vice Admiral Ted Carter, is the president of some small state school, I don't know, a few hours south of here. But seriously, we need more Michigan alumni on our Department of the Navy team. For those of you who perhaps don't have a job lined up yet and want to come work with us, I know a guy who might be able to help you. In fact, just stand up and I'll give you the oath of office this afternoon. But after all, blue and gold and maize and blue are indeed pretty similar. Like me, I know that there are many of you out there who are the first in your family to go to college. I know that some of you are fellow first-generation Americans. And I remember how relieved I was at my own graduation. I had just survived 4 years of electrical engineering at the Naval Academy, and I can assure you that I was nowhere near the top of my class. I am now, though. And all the admirals and generals call me sir. But it was worth it. At that moment, I could have never imagined pursuing a master's in space systems engineering at the Navy Postgraduate School, and I certainly never imagined that I would one day become an entrepreneur and start my own engineering firm with my wife of 40 years. No matter where you stand in this class, top or at the very bottom, know that the sky is the limit for each and every one of you. I'm living proof of that. So class of 2024, congratulations. I cannot wait to see what you do with this world-class education. This is indeed a momentous occasion. During your time here on campus, you have pushed yourselves to tackle very complex problems, to envision solutions, and to bring those solutions to life. You've mastered the fundamentals of physics, mathematics, and the balance of design and construction. You've made lifelong friends and cherished memories. Your football team even won a national championship, right? Your resilience after beginning your studies at the height of the COVID pandemic, as was said earlier today, is truly, truly remarkable. And now you're on the precipice of your own professional journeys. What you do now is up to you. My one piece of advice to you is that you don't have to be the captain of the ship, the admiral commanding the fleet, or even the CEO of the company in the future. You don't need a title to be successful. What's most important is to find the jobs where you value the work that you are doing, where you follow your passion, where you can thrive, and where you can enjoy the journey and pursue those passions in life. Don't let your ambitions for the future keep you from making the most of the present, because really life is a collection of moments lived. So I'd like to take a moment to talk about something that has been important to my own journey: service. When your former dean and my fellow Naval Academy grad, Mortimer Cooley, who I mentioned earlier, ran for the Senate in 1924, he said, and I quote, "I am convinced that we, as engineers, have a duty to perform for the public which we have not realized. And if I can inspire the engineers to take an active interest in public affairs, I shall consider the race won," unquote. As a fellow engineer in the nation's service, I couldn't agree with him more. And service can be as local or as global as you wish. Every act of service, big or small, technical or social, strengthens the communities that you touch and paves the way for a brighter future for yourself, for your community, and for our country. After all, it was at a commencement right here in Ann Arbor that Lyndon Johnson called on Americans to aspire to a great society. And in 1960, on the steps of your Michigan Union, then candidate and former naval officer John F. Kennedy first described his idea for the organization that would one day become the Peace Corps. In those remarks, he asked the Michigan students, the people of Ann Arbor and the people of Michigan to, and I quote, "join in building a stronger country, to demonstrate in the most difficult time in the history of the free world, to help in building here the kind of society which will serve as an example," unquote, to any who wish to strive for freedom. He challenged the audience to transcend their own lives and become active participants in shaping our nation to serve as a beacon of hope for the entire world. His call to action was simply about individual service. But it was also about collective action and building a stronger, more just society. More than that, he asked them to be leaders. Leaders. Leadership isn't about giving orders from the top of the corporate ladder or from the office of the Secretary of the Navy. Leadership is about inspiring others, fostering collaboration, driving innovation towards a common purpose, and treating everybody, whether you agree with them or not, with dignity and respect. And in my experience, service and leadership are linked together. They're about changing the world in ways big and small. They are about the everyday acts of kindness, compassion, and dedication. They're about using your skills and knowledge to lift all those around you, to bridge divides. Our job as leaders, and all of you are leaders, after all, your fight song calls you the leaders, and the best is to make things better for those we lead and protect. Imagine the young graduate who not only designs a fuel-efficient cargo ship, but also leads a team to develop new clean burning propulsion technologies. Picture the marine engineer who prioritizes both cutting-edge technology and environmental sustainability, leading efforts to minimize the impact of shipping on our delicate ecosystems, including that of the Great Lakes. True success is not measured only by patents and profits, but by your positive impact on the lives of others, on the health of our oceans and our lakes, and indeed on the future of our planet. Let's be frank, it's not people my age who are going to solve the challenges that face our society, our nation, or indeed the world in the decades ahead. It's going to be young people like you. Whether it is taking action to reduce the effects of climate change, building sustainable cities, advancing the transition to electric vehicles, developing fusion energy, or even landing on Mars, it will be accomplished by people like you and much, much younger than me. The future today is brighter because of all of you, and if any of you want to indeed join the Navy, the Marine Corps, like I said, I'd be happy to administer that oath of office right here in the corner afterwards. And by the way, if your parents want to join the Navy and Marine Corps too, we'd be happy to do it here too as well. And think about it, you could spend the next 10 years again with your parents. Look, your parents are very, very happy people today because now they don't have to pay tuition anymore, right? So in closing, thank you again for this honor. Congratulations. May God grant all of you this beautiful state, this venerable institution, our Navy and our Marine Corps, and indeed our nation, fair winds and following seas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Del Toro. They really are out there if you're interested. Now, would all Michigan engineering students please rise? On behalf of the Board of Regents of the University of Michigan, congratulations to the class of 2024. Please be seated. This event celebrates a major achievement by today's graduates. But graduates, you have received help along the way. We've heard from multiple folks that say that we should recognize all the parents, grandparents, siblings, spouses, and other family and friends who've helped us along the way. I too would like to ask our special guests who are with us today to stand as they are able so that your graduates may thank you. At this time, I will call the name of each of the college's department or division chairs or representatives. Full titles appear on the back of your program. Leaders briefly will greet their department students on stage. I will now ask those individuals to stand and remain standing as I call your names. Audience, please hold your applause until the entire group has been recognized. Carlos Sesnick, Aerospace Engineering. Marianne Meisick, Biomedical Engineering. Sharon Glotzer, Chemical Engineering. Yafeng Yin, Civil and Environmental Engineering. Tulia Pulkkinen, Climate and Space Science and Engineering. Atul Prakash, Computer Science and Engineering. Dennis Sylvester, Electrical and Computer Engineering. Julie Simmons-Ivy, Industrial and Operations Engineering. Liz Holm, Material Science and Engineering. Ellen Aruda, Mechanical Engineering. David Dowling, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering. Todd Allen, Nuclear Engineering and Radiological Sciences, and Dawn Tilbury, Robotics. Now I will ask the first team of name announcers to please take your position. Ushers will direct graduates to the stage in 2 lines. Beginning from the front of the arena, each student marshal will lead by holding their department or program flag. Graduates will be greeted on stage by your department representatives and by Vice President Finholt, or I, or me. It is tradition as you cross the stage to move your mortarboard tassel from the right to the left to reflect your transition. Then please return to your seat in the audience and remain seated until the conclusion of our program. In the spirit of Michigan Engineering Unity, we want all departments and students to be recognized by a full audience, and we invite your family, friends, and supporters to cheer briefly as your name is called. Briefly. After our last graduate is recognized, we will sing the victors, and I would like to now welcome the candidates for the degrees offered by the Departments of Aerospace Engineering and Chemical Engineering to please rise and approach the stage to begin the recognition of the graduates.
Chemical Engineering, Siddhant Krishnan. Isabella Gorst.
Aerospace Engineering, Anna Timo Fusi.
Hemel Kiri.
David Wong.
Thomas Williams.
Rudvik Manthi.
Serena Sheridan.
Jose Luis Veros de Mendoza.
Karam Arawi.
Samir Tripathi.
Kirsten Knowles.
Sid Anathantha.
Bryn Gerlach.
Sierra Kojima.
Jacob Johnson.
Amon Riley.
Carson Van Villen.
Eric Suleweski.
Emma Lynn Pfeiffer.
David McInnes.
Avani Govinswamy.
Jose Diaz.
Gordon Gwilt.
Maria Wright.
Ellie Helferich.
Lillian Crohan.
Kendra Hagee.
Owen Faulkner.
Sarah Pesta.
Sanjana Kirkar.
Carolyn Shaver.
Aditya Adulamam.
Annalise Lemaire.
Nathan Sanchez.
Jenny Park.
Nate Campbell.
Isabel Montilla.
Reese Font.
Nicole Balbaki.
Nicholas Corey.
Nicolette Kleinhofer.
Rahul Chowdhury.
Nathaniel Hodgson.
Noah Colonnay.
Max Lacacia.
Eric Gergen.
Sophia Freitag.
Nicholas Hajar.
Oscar Johnny.
Ariana Thompson.
Rebecca Avey.
Adam Bertrand.
Jacqueline Zamora.
Prachit Jain.
Ananya Rao Atluri.
Jake Stolman.
Esme Din Otter.
Diego Swan de la Rosa.
Joseph Restivo.
William Loomis.
Tiago Race.
Pranjal Sharma.
Gabriela Teodoru.
Ankith Salarama.
Ben Spector.
Ruwan Ajaber.
Rebecca Zeitman.
Logan Kane.
Tyler Ashley.
Philip Holtzman.
Luke Westland.
Anson Shu.
Caitlin Sakachi.
Joshua Strand.
Tony Zhang.
Owen Smolek.
Denali Min.
Jacob Hausman.
Cade Harris.
Adam Evans.
Kevin Cheng.
Michael Liu.
Sanghoon Kim.
Jacob Klinger.
Athena Chen.
Samuel Redmond.
Ramrata Wachara.
Santosh Sankar.
Stacy Zhang.
Hirsch Kubayo.
Sakika Watkins.
Carter Crumans,
Jeremiah Shute.
Maithri Kidambi,
Pooja Lan.
Mustafa Ali,
Henry McKitkiran.
Charles Weber,
John Sherla.
Andrew Chen,
Sophia Sharp.
Martin Joe,
Christina Saeed.
Nathaniel Jennings,
Annika Gupta.
Andrew Yang,
Delaney Hammond.
William Nichols,
Autumn Velding.
Christian Henderson,
Isha Ulular.
John Hager,
Nadine El Gafir.
Jackson Elder,
Materials Science and Engineering. Laura Bonds.
Christopher Benson,
Madison Forstner.
Tyler Elliott,
Trev Nolan.
Rebecca Nielsen,
Joshua Dukes.
Benjamin Vapado,
Charlie Kayak.
Zoe Shearer,
Colin McManus.
Ashton Tucker,
Audrey Young.
Patrick Dotson,
Kevin Masel.
Rohan Atule,
Thomas Roosley.
Christopher Van Dyke,
Tyler Lindeman.
Jordan Santo,
Haley Whalen.
Nathan Peary,
Amanda Didums.
Jack Little,
Priya Patel.
Autumn Rabobnik,
Bennett Mejia.
William Bowler,
Michael Walter Jendick.
Sergio Cirisas,
Luke Snudden.
Sylvan Montague,
Benjamin Poole.
Robert Duquette,
Ryan Blackburn.
Garrett Voigt,
Andrew Danbury.
Paul Radusku,
Alexis Parrish.
Zoe Pizzutu,
Aryan Patel.
Suryana Lee,
Liam Cotter.
Kevin Soon,
Tejaswini Reddy.
Natalie Hapasis,
Pooja Yuan.
Sophia Papp,
Sabrina Quinn.
Samuel Hoffman,
Heather Hare.
Emma Smith,
Alexa Goldstein.
Umal De Ochan,
Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering. Axel Avram.
Clement Chan,
Liam Power.
Ian Johnson,
Hal Berdichevsky.
Brendan Larson,
Logan Cox.
Andrew Kim,
Luke Lagana.
Kim Young,
Francis Trong.
Anshul Friedmanjah,
Adina Farka.
Noah Walters,
Kaiten Quinn.
Tabitha Dickinson,
Evan Zorman.
William Wenren,
Lucas Mitch.
Lucas Chuma,
Joseph Serpa.
Adam Lake,
Catherine Sutherland.
Samuel Taxay,
Patrick White.
Joseph Franska,
Owen Barr.
Connor Ryan,
Eric Gimple.
Climate and Space Sciences and Engineering.
Civil and Environmental Engineering. Karina Otten.
Ari Gottesman,
Xanthi Thomas.
Isaac Fertig,
Mary Hess.
Kate Bartlett,
Morgan Saunders.
Derek Sholton,
Sophie Kronk.
Maivish Madhumadala,
Morgan Comfort.
Robotics, Jacob Harbelson.
Macy Hannan.
Edward Ivanich.
Brian Young.
Servando Garza.
Anna Gossard.
Jose Galvin.
Chase Hartley.
Ben Rosano.
Yolanda Ming.
Nicholas Dibb.
Abigail Atwood.
Emily Wu.
Kaylee Conley.
Omar Benharsh.
Bria Stalker.
Max Rucker.
Margaret Kirby.
Laila Idrisi.
Olivia Malibin.
Caitlin King.
Rita Halfin.
Nuclear Engineering and Radiological Sciences. Julia Marshall.
Jiwa Tian.
Caleb Bush.
Dylan Gottheim.
Giuliano Fontebasso.
Carter Sandstrom.
Genevieve Magnan.
Joseph Ryan.
Isabella E. Wood.
Judy Yang.
Joseph Kopke.
Chantal Jean.
Mohammed Amar Farouk Fahan.
Madeline Rose Sika.
Emmeline Hanna.
Brian Rund.
Sienna Fratilla.
Marnie Gaman.
Catherine Ballard.
Garrett Everett.
Engineering Physics.
Vivian Kim.
Neil Berry.
Julian Nyberg.
Jason Banish.
Ethan Zurich.
Evan Marla.
Jenna Bonello.
William Melsaps.
Nicholas Said.
Aidan Wilbur Gauthier.
Cindy Wheaton.
Isaac Sarbacker.
Ethan Onstead.
Judah Ubi.
Emma Remian.
Juchi Wang.
James McCoy Jr.
Industrial and Operations Engineering. Irvi Dio.
McKenna Burkholder.
Aparna Krishnamurthy.
Grant Bluehart.
Vibhuti Danvuluri.
Drew Novak.
Gabriel DeRocher.
Catherine Sharilla.
Guillermo Suels.
Daniel Ha.
Emma Forisi.
Oscar Sanchez Martinez.
Charles Capuletti.
Jalen Campbell.
Sebastian Culver.
Lena Kerr.
Samuel Rodriguez.
Stephanie Sparkowski.
Allison Rohde.
Ryan Herster.
Corey Kusalis.
Sarah Bolzman.
Zishan Lee.
Isabel Winsell.
Lydia Lee.
Aaliyah Torrey.
Andrew Cleveland.
Ryan Williams.
Benjamin Seeley.
Riley McKenna.
Nicholas Smith.
Anders Ekstrom.
Edgar Venegas.
Patricia Lee.
Yunesh U. Orokohu.
Leonard Mead.
Hardiki Nich Ahmed Leta.
Ryan Wollaston.
Kate Renee Lewis.
Drew Gorley.
Jiyang Zhang.
Ian Wingate.
Jilan Wen.
Biomedical Engineering Department, Andrew Cronin.
Ginny Faith Schramm.
Manav Kapoor.
Theanan Abalahar.
Rami Murad.
Rachel Williams.
Ariana Markey.
Thomas Westman.
Brianna Campbell.
Kevin Shehu.
Zachary Fisher.
Mayrazul Hawk.
Rishi Hoskeri.
Samuel Zervis.
Kevin Yishang Chen.
Vineet Dongre.
Marianne Taba.
Gaurang Vaidya.
Siyi Bella Chen.
Unish Kokula.
Justin Desmet.
Jadine Kohan.
Nicholas Hoffman.
Anjanu Suresh.
Kento Zollinger.
Deborah George.
Brian Hamowitz.
Casey Stoneback.
Michelle Song.
Maria Liberty Fields.
Jillian Primavera.
Pierce Murphy.
Vikram Bala.
Kiran Thikura.
Maria Jennings.
Olivia Parlow.
Yash Sakalkar.
Ilona de la Zerda.
Natalie Hanby.
Daniel DeRocher.
Chloe Fisher.
Catherine Christensen.
Hayden Smith.
Trisha Chatterjee.
Bianca Hernandez.
Madeline Meter.
Mary Criticos.
Renee Lenz.
Israel Smith Flores.
Raymond Joe.
Lucia Mancini.
Uluwakimi Victoria Andaleke Oshun Mcbede.
Daniel Erzepa.
Julia Machni.
Eli Muma.
Andreas Marin Gallo.
Hunter Hill.
Michael Strauss.
Clara Huang.
Omar Divanovich.
Darren Wong.
Evan Graysons.
Sheng Bai.
Reed Godberson.
Isaac Turner.
Haley Bartumos.
Lucas Panzak.
Paula Perez Plaisais.
Patrick Shi.
Kiera Patterson.
Nikhil Mantena.
Mariana Sans Planchart.
Sihui Wang.
Haiti Baidun.
Jill Poland.
Charlie Polito.
Edward McLean.
Patrick Kelly.
Young Kuzura.
Sebastian Taburada.
Amber Shelley.
Yin Yun Hsia.
Neil Bate.
Mert Ten Vermis.
Samantha Luckpat.
Morgan Shepard.
Mina Kim.
Oliver Schaff.
Cecilia Crowther.
Peter Todd.
Kirti Aplash.
Cooper Buckley.
Elizabeth Forney.
William Chichara.
Naveen Nithiyaragawan.
Joseph Lucchese.
Hijiri Woodbury.
Samantha Holland.
Aganan Gandhi. Jackson Albright.
Roshan Putel.
Victor Papa Sibil.
Tenzin Dawa.
Cameron Ross.
Sumar Mavawa.
Susan Shi.
Joel Proshutia.
Dane Barnes.
Andy Wang.
Elizabeth Wright.
Juliana Hu.
Mohammed Azrayas.
Amir Tison.
Sophia Kavanaugh.
Abigail Almeida.
Juliana Fagre Guerriero.
Sarah Skaggs.
Cristina Araujo.
Adi Vishwanevas.
Sergio Quispe Sanchez.
Samir Hamid.
Arunika Shi.
Kunal Pupala.
Grace Waugh.
Unoshus Gulate.
Lucy Lerut.
Supriya Rusaria.
Emily Wallace.
Arini Sinha.
Allison Haskell.
Philip Weinstein.
Armin Vartanian.
Gabriela Borges.
Luke Rukos.
Hannah Sun.
John Harden.
Carly Newman.
Ryan Kozak.
Thomas Edelman.
Seta Hagopian,
Gabriela Morales,
Akil Ramesh,
Kevin Daly,
Anushka Patel,
Morgan Graff,
Lucia Choi,
Ava Conway,
Aaron Hatala,
Gabby Fred,
Zachary Richards,
Laura Wu,
Teresa Chen,
Lucas Faker,
Samantha Bout,
Justin Meyer,
Rachel Gooden,
Brewster Sawyer,
Lillian Holman,
Tara Donnelly,
Peyton Krajarski,
Audrey O'Connor,
Margaret Lassand,
Samuel Goldman,
Catherine Ackerman,
Rebecca Sanders,
Mina Dizdarovich,
Katie Folick,
Piyush Sarkar,
Megan Beamer,
Nicole Carpenteri,
Alvin Lee,
Jillian Swabowski,
Danny Cologne,
Elise McClintock,
Jack Nadrich,
Madeline Gustafson,
Kate Howard,
David Kaufman,
Mechanical Engineering, Samuel Russell,
Ella Copeland,
Elena de la Cruz,
Amanda Chung,
Kamaya Carey Buckley,
Lynette Lee,
Taylor Noel Gilbert,
Natalie Trakangrungsi,
Emerson Kakua,
John Yin,
Connor McNabbie,
Brianna Putman,
Ethan Sell,
Suraj Menon,
Sean Connolly,
Kaylin Whaley,
Morgan Flynn,
Lindsay Sheridan,
Ashwini Joshi,
Namit Padgankar,
Haran Ma,
William Warren,
Zuchen He,
Abbas Ajami,
Patrick Burke,
Eve Heisel,
Chong Chien,
Rishi Amladi,
Mohammed Monam,
Renxiang Wan,
Michael Beltramo,
Hao Ming Zhu,
Riley Hargrave,
Chang Li,
Hazam Torani,
Christopher Kim,
Nicholas Korpa,
Jordan Vin,
Benjamin Maskell,
Grace Gaubit,
Andrew Sheffield,
Rushi Barrett,
Unjia Hu,
Alexa Iglesias,
Douglas Bodine III,
Connor Madigan,
Jonathan Jessica,
Sabina Mers,
Jack DeVita,
Carolina Rishka,
Shiva Prasad,
Lucas Vopenheim,
Namle,
Emily Baker,
Peter Dombrowski,
Courtney Lowe,
Shijong Shun,
Drew Bobbledick,
Mobin Bazlumian,
Electrical and Computer Engineering, Jonathan Daniel.
Alexis Beach,
Max Brodkey,
Alex Birnbaum,
Ross Richards,
Philippe Zacaricha,
Jonathan Meng,
Tori Coraciello,
Raghav Varshney,
Anna Eaglesham,
Rajan Nagpal,
Owen Dolins,
Anna Huang,
Junzhou Liu,
George Paul,
Robert Russell,
Timothy Talbots,
Raymond Wong,
Bradley Montney,
Aidan Kaiser Bulmash,
Gabriel Romero Brownell,
Dylan Fisher,
Jorge Garcia,
Matthew Wirikun,
Daniel Calco,
Nathan Goldman,
Brendan Ireland,
Sholin Shahid,
Dawa Bogbe,
Connor Hall,
Jahan Razavi,
Nathan Kleb,
is complicit
Iden James Bollinger Park,
and actively profited
Lark
from the ongoing
Sawyer.
genocide of the Palestinian people.
Mike Dillander,
From the money in the university endowment used to purchase
Emi Yuki,
Daniel Benedict,
Audrey Wong,
Adarsh Ponaka,
Lexi Martin,
Joshua Siegel,
Kai Nomoto,
Rico Shu,
Emma Cantor,
Olivia Maurice,
Ian Beaufet,
Alan Mayor,
Madeline Moore,
Caleb Langley,
Ellen Bosma,
Kevin Kendro,
Marcel Sobolski,
Henry Berthel,
Dan Altman,
Karthikeya Gupta,
Rohit Kamath,
Sandeep Ravella,
Emma Lebul,
Mustafa Mayaziwala,
Christian Nunes,
Elijah Becker,
Brandon Brozic,
David Mutoni,
Caden Corso,
Christopher Van Deren,
McLean Cooper,
Wajo Chin,
Bennett Vaith,
Niranjan Pandit,
John Renieve,
Tejvar Bhuyan,
Andrew Smith,
Hao Han,
Zachary Carey,
Leah Kim,
Ethan Hare,
Benjamin Akeson,
Marcus Isaacson,
Richard Kraut,
Zachary Wanger,
James Reddick,
Harrison Kazak,
Eric Cooley,
Manasvini Nabakuroju,
Christopher Bupp,
Lucy Sun,
Matthew Ng,
Matthew Sotakowski,
Samuel Nolan,
Siddharth Prasant,
Nicholas Campbell,
Edmund Liang,
Christopher Brown,
Lillian Adams,
Hypatia Magyar,
Spencer Dickert,
Andrew Chow,
Alan Solovoy,
Matthew Kakua,
Harrison Menkes,
Andrew Shalwig,
Anika Satish,
Jeremy Leo,
Madeline Finkel,
Brendan Wallace,
Lamia Tank,
Frank Roberts,
Mahmoud Haj,
William Dodson,
Ethan Perham,
Nate Anderson,
Ruse Roloff,
Maya Pamenon,
Stephen Majors,
Zebulon DeBacher,
Dylan Joseph,
Zion Studevant,
Sawyer Melky,
Hunter James Adams,
Maxwell Gonzalez,
Isabel Tabo Nolan,
Benjamin Redgate,
Dabrini Sarkar,
Yan Yu Chun,
Adip Das,
Wang Re Shu,
Evan Travis,
Nick Besh,
Taylor Kessinger,
Ziad Harb,
Iden Getch,
Harrison Kim,
Jeffrey Shulkin,
Eric Kumara,
Tyler Schultes,
Jack Reniarski,
Matthew Byer,
Jared Labetro,
Michael Parrott,
Aditya Matukar,
Front Wong,
Chai Nugu Akaramake Wong,
Justin Yang,
Christopher Mizuno,
Carrie Naga,
Andres Garcia,
Ziyang Ning,
Avani Yerva,
Joshua Ning,
Marissa Bladetsky,
Sehyun Park,
Prashant Saxana,
Corbin Fleming Dittenberg,
Grace Haller.
Peter Hermes.
Edingen Lin.
Thomas Daly.
David Shin.
Wilson Chen.
Aaron Chu.
Jennifer Abraham.
Liam Rhodes.
Ali Kassim.
Andrew Franklin.
Kevin Zhang.
Shaylee Patel.
Lance Jacob Loon.
Lauren Monaghan.
Aiden Ashoti.
Zukun Wong.
Alexander Guido.
Jack Decker.
Andrea Liu.
Aaron Gronsman.
Elham Islam.
Joseph Cabrosi.
Evan Ait.
Kimberly Kerr.
Nathaniel Kalantar.
Noah Hilbig.
Alyssa Anderson.
Jacob Vetstein.
Shwetha Pati.
Carl Volstall.
Ankitha Mahajan.
Tenha Wei.
Daphne Agapiu.
Del Reynolds.
Amanda Whitley.
Matthew Widevan.
Richard Wan.
Christopher Olson.
Lauren Paddock.
Jake Tercios.
Dylan Patel.
Holden Collins.
Roderick Ryopel.
Priyanka Madhavan.
Ayush Mahathi.
Meghna Gupta.
Ethan Schenk.
Christian Vela.
Amarna Set Lunpre.
Cameron Mutzol.
Miranda Baltax.
Jennifer Park.
Abipal Vipadasilpin.
Anna Poirier.
Jessica Simmer.
Eleanor Thrazy.
Daniel Kennedy.
Aaron Gunn.
Connor Truax.
Dylan Fennick.
Eric Bird.
Zohong He.
William Gordon.
Benjamin Davidson.
Jonathan Bear.
Arjun Ganesh.
Adam Carrion.
Kimia Begzadeh.
Nathan Comerford.
Catherine Bailey.
Jennifer Feenstra.
Yungping Wang.
Christine Sung.
Cara Stark.
Daniel Leong.
Dylan Rich.
Joel Green.
John Abernethy.
Matthew Priscorn.
Zane Seal.
Nanditha Gupta.
Jacob Rochelle Sher.
Joseph Bruzek.
David Jiwan Kim.
Anna Nickel.
Grace Doyen.
Genevieve Dumont.
Anya Fitzpatrick.
Nicholas Wagner.
Dominic Kirschbaum.
Abdur Rahim Ahalak.
Ife Teo.
Ian Buchanan.
Jack Evans.
Ryan Trong.
Austin Cho.
Vishal Chandra.
Junsik
Garam Alsnayan.
Zachary Whalen.
Sathvik Nagpal.
Sawyer Northrup.
Tian Wei Leo.
William Scott.
Mandy He.
Jacqueline Henrietta.
Zachary Bauer.
Daniela Chait.
Isaac Cazales.
Edward Pominiak.
Sonia Minso Kim.
Adi Shah.
James Lee.
Sarah Wollihan.
Dowen Zhu.
Shaya Jain.
Daniel Jiang.
Sanda Yani.
Nathan Nakapali.
Greta Davis.
Jude Kaziak.
Benjamin Wong.
Leo Lee.
Sean Rooney.
Abdullah Nauman.
Emma Nottingham.
Nancy Chen.
Nicholas Johnson.
Zichen Wang.
Daniel Cavalche.
No data sign? Right? Yeah.
Adam Rayner.
Computer Science and Engineering and Data Science. Kunal Singh.
Eric Kent III.
Eugene Kim Seo.
Abigail Zotrewi.
Alexander Mastrogiacomo.
Sarah Malta.
Ricardo Saltzman.
Jonathan Kazelskis.
Connor Morgan.
Kevin Ho.
Esme Seaver.
Enjong Wang.
Caroline O'Sullivan.
Clifford Levesque.
Ryan Brar.
Ejun Park.
Aidan Tucker.
Alexander Kraus.
Sishao Z.
Henry Persons VI.
Mariam Fahmy.
Henry Meiselman.
Aidan Such.
Adeline Schmidt.
Rania Kaur Upal.
Bridget O'Connor.
Harrison Sentner.
Aidan McLaughlin.
Mia Vukovic.
Charles Rentz.
Hawen Tang.
Jacob Kemper.
Braden Mainkey.
Ella Samaha.
Chewon Kim.
Daisy Gutzman Pena.
Justin Paul.
Janavi Bhatt.
Jay Narayanan.
Cindy Lee.
Hamza Hussein.
Sagnik Sen Dasgupta.
Joseph Maffetone.
Matthew Cantor.
Blake Lieber.
Jacob Olin.
Viviana Matab.
Weston Sobas.
Neha Tiwari.
Shruti Venkatesh.
Hao Peng.
Andrea Lizarazo.
Jason Liang.
Jacob Hastings.
Marshall Stone.
Eric Shun.
Miles Bronson.
Miles Birchall.
Ryan Tsao.
Alexander Ellen Constantino.
Aaron Waller.
Nicholas Ventresca.
Sachin Ramurthy.
Ishan Prabnu.
Aman Chaudhary.
Michael McCallick.
Maxi Denmark.
Linnea Lindeblum.
Dylan Revson.
Zach Zlomek.
Dalton Richardson.
Matthew Widevan.
Sudhir Venkat.
Jonathan Marr.
Jeffrey Hitchcock.
Computer Science and Engineering continued. Alyssa Taylor.
Riley Ost.
Ezekiel Cutin.
Christopher Lynn.
Abby Tuman.
Catherine Hu.
Jordan Kanea.
Andrew Lee.
Ann Stone.
Huber. Emma Huber.
Zachary Batron.
Francesca Del Molino.
Eva Sazeshko.
Kyle Sieb.
Thomas Shudahan.
Ryan Kim.
Stephen Stade.
Kevin Morgan.
Colton
Alex-
Heffer.
Alex de la Iglesia.
Conleth Stead.
Michael Dick.
Jean Yang.
Andrew Babcock.
Danny Zhang.
Rahul Uniyampath.
Ethan Fonger.
Brian Rago.
Madison Borun.
Ting He.
Alexis Reynolds.
Serena Irani.
Ava Luna Pardo Keegan.
Daniel Liu.
Macarena Peralta.
Ryan Chua.
Marcelo Lopez.
Jesse Tulo.
Diego Robles Campos.
Ethan Graber.
Gino Ossenmacher.
Simon Yampati.
Jake Skolnick.
Maxwell Topping.
Zachary Matthews.
Reese Wastel.
Dylan Shelton.
Jonathan Schwartz.
Jonah Abelman,
Nina Moisky,
Lydia Tan,
David Harrell,
Isha Maheshwari,
Semi Park,
Leon Shaya Maxon,
Blair Pang,
Dovi Shilov,
Efe Akinji,
Nikhil Dayal,
Angelina Ilievsky,
Howard Fong,
Aliu Ka,
Jimin Jung,
Alessandro Lorenzo,
Unshina Tak Mula,
David Georgie,
Nidhi Jason,
Joseph Gezi,
Donovan Bilo,
Connor Wilkinson,
Adbav Vaishasha,
Jinyi Wong,
Kevin Chen,
Wangxing Tian,
Chase Wilson,
Gautan Lee,
Brian Morrock,
Keming Onyang,
Zach Buryagar,
Han Kim,
Jacob Nitson,
Oliver Masty,
Ian Cook,
Beck Utegard,
Cameron Reed,
Zoe Madeline Jane Myatt,
Max Tennant,
Rohan Agrawal,
Blake Burdock,
Jesus Delgado Sanchez,
Nathan Curdo,
Brian Yuanda Yang,
Yuki Wu,
Garima Shah,
Hao Chan,
Shreya Chala,
Abhishek Kumar,
April Che,
Grace Chu,
Jack Wildis,
Anand Cooley,
Cedar Dar,
Matthew Thomas,
Henry Zako,
Arjun Patel,
Aditya Iyer,
Cameron Nichols,
Omkar Vodela,
Andrew Herman,
Irang Young,
Alexander Dean,
Xiaomong Chu,
Ernie Hayer,
Hamza Alkotob,
Matthew Cooper,
Dean Durrani,
Michael Roberge,
Matthew Wanek,
Rohan Kodati,
Abdullah Elkala,
Julia Bray,
Nicholas Gady,
Margaret Larkin,
Mohammed Shabain,
Barrett Long,
Rishirath Chandra,
Brody Schwartz,
Devang Chowdhury,
Luciana Solorenzo,
Frank Chiang,
Atul Gaur,
Nicholas Anderson,
Unkansha Patnaik, all right,
Kyle Schnitzer,
Grace Smith,
Garrett Malik,
Michaela Beardsley,
Amrita Amjai Thirumalai,
Nolan Birkland,
Akanshka Girdar,
Julia Spilkin,
Hazel Shibu,
Jessica Zenas,
Sohavni Singh,
James Kolostinski,
Amy Ron,
Vishal Prashant,
Sean Anderson,
Sam Herner,
Maya Baveja,
Garrison Miller,
Catherine Kim,
Philip Liu,
Henry Beckstein,
Maggie Tian,
Eric Lytle,
Nadia Saunders,
Joseph Nani,
Divya Reddy,
Ryan Wilson,
Lasya Chuka,
Christian Vega,
Zachary Jared Weiss,
Abari Davis,
Lawrence Wong,
Anish Ruthru,
John Traeger,
Nikash Prakash,
Cody Takada,
Sunny Wong.
David John,
Kyle Hansen.
Pravnav Kuslia,
Jacob Carew.
Koki Hosuyachi,
Michael Kaufman.
Justin Liu,
Alan Wu.
Daniel Diaz,
Victoria Beckman.
Michael Hu,
Amy Wong.
Rohan Pucha,
Alexander Richard Souza.
Radhika Rajo,
Noah Ivers.
Sumeda Vulapudi,
Paul Smith,
Nalan Krishnan,
Thomas Anderson,
Ayush Jain,
Brianna Baliet,
Daniel Schenk,
Hermela Binyam,
Sean Lee,
Ethan D'Alessandro,
Eduardo Mora,
Benjamin Go,
Maya Alam,
Ju Sung Kim,
Daniel Soshu,
Carter Grayson,
Alex Cullums,
Thomas Sporer,
Lasya Mantha,
Arya Patil,
Unap Bagali,
Gregory Kondis,
Anish Sunthiram,
Balin Wu,
Teresa Lee,
Yuz Jiang,
Jiawei Hao,
Cheying Cheng,
Manhang Wang,
Siler Miracle,
Zachary Jarsky,
Jacob Lang,
Kaushik Damle,
John Shen,
Isabella Alada,
Eric On,
Krithi Muligan,
William Yang,
Pashuk Komchalan,
Sambujang Fafana,
Turong Than Dapu,
Anthony Castellucci,
Rushashil Tala,
Andy Lee,
Suchis Gupta,
Jeff Lin,
Unu Radu Unthru Lee,
William Cow,
Ryan Vank,
Michael Lin,
Zaid Shaida,
Vincent Wang,
Ann Shorkey,
Andrew Shin,
Joy Hongsubek,
Camden Doe,
Selena Pan,
Nicholas Carnes,
Amelia Lay,
Sophia Jonachek,
Quentin Dwight,
Jacob Gettig,
Stephen Sia,
Danya Narayanan,
Sura Biwasan Bala Murugam,
Lauren Ball,
Sashank Kambometu,
Avani Shingari,
Sereya Gujimnawi,
Barbara Dreyer Rents Ribeiro,
Chloe Dressel,
Gopari Temurian Forugi Abare,
Anna May,
Lydia Lamb,
Jennifer Weir,
Drew Mays,
Srish Udaya Kumar,
Catherine Tomaszewski,
Annie Yang,
James Haddad,
Kun Chen,
Lawrence Kim,
Kate Conkrite,
Sydney Zhang,
Colin McGravy,
Amy Howe,
Femi Mudulorgi,
Nolan Kuza,
Ian Lee,
Carson Ellis,
William O'Brien,
Juliana Hung,
Ujay Gunesh,
Jenny Mao,
Sean Hersey,
Max Dye,
Josh Montroy,
Ishan Shah,
Lawrence Liu,
Akshay Katha,
Jason O'Bricky,
William Yin,
Max Crandall,
Joshua Richmond,
Catherine Jang,
Sydney From,
Murphy Justian,
Ashen Potar,
Ari Yin Kamat,
Tucker Van Regamorta,
Arian Shah,
Usman Ali,
Tejas Kode,
Martin Schneider,
Raj Mulharkar,
Edwin Chan,
Evan Hitsky,
Jaden Yak,
Mitru Molskiski,
Sobina Kim,
Hunter Minch,
Parker Mathena,
Philip Christensen,
Steve Fan,
Ryan Yao,
Jack Doozer,
Adele Grandos,
Ian Doyle,
Owen Young,
Nochikit Deshmuka,
James Maddock,
Enes Bazgiev,
William Kelly,
Rohan Ray,
Chris Xiao,
Arian Koshi,
Ronit Patanake,
Yusuf Halabi,
Nikhil Sridhar,
Benjamin Abraham,
Hamza Khan,
Jihoon Sim,
Unkith Paladakyi,
Hannah Rose Dunn,
Michael Bowden,
Gaurav Shenkawat,
Ishan Thakur,
Karthik Ganesh,
Rishab Lunka,
Joshua Sum,
Benjamin Michek,
Anshul Dalva,
Anu Tamith,
Lam Dao,
Chloe Zion,
Arshia Nagizade,
Emmeline Campo,
Micah Dupree,
Erica Webb,
Sergio Mendez,
Alyssa Simon,
Yang Hee Liu,
Oli Raymond,
Bohan Shu,
Joseph Rosenthal,
Arian Joshi,
Preeti Raj,
Haohong Sheng,
Divya Singhal,
Wang Zhihua,
Pruthik Morthy,
Yilin Jar,
Simran Dolawal,
Ling Xuang Ji,
Andy Zhang,
Amanda Zhu,
Jeremy Roscoe,
D. Ray Zhang,
Hillary Lamb,
Hao Chen Young,
Keshav Guru Shankar,
Yuan Gao,
Rohan Naguvardhan,
Tin Yuan Du,
Ishan Jain,
Yike Wang,
Uviak Dikfit,
Min Jae Guo,
Brian Golub,
Hanfu Hao,
Aditya Chattari,
Rory Kai,
Unirud Rampushad,
Eric Chi,
Gwyneth Jones,
Di Chen,
Eugene Bay,
Yahira Flores,
James Alvardo,
Wei Shin Yu,
Hao Fu,
Yuja Ron,
Omar Carazales Saurez,
Surya Schultes,
William Goodshay,
Sean Mia,
Owen Rennick,
Zoe Ai,
Sean Stovall,
Mao Yuan Wang,
Mitchell Block,
Luye Wu,
Rajiv Parimi,
Peining Shu,
Peter Wu,
Sija Zhang,
Sikundina Vasquez,
Sirei Zhen,
Brian Wu,
Yatsen Zhou,
Sohil Ramachandra,
David Ying,
Mitchell Chang,
Eric Song,
Udit Cooley,
Ryan Kim,
Connor Shi,
Venus Young,
Varun Nimalaguda,
Xiao Zhang,
Aryan Ranuk Mujherji,
Guyang Tao,
Leonardo Martins,
Kai Cheng Han,
Caitlin Henning,
Zhao Wei Hei,
Peelan Turk,
Muhammad Ralph,
Leuf Thorson,
Zulan Ali Shah,
Mega Bearwall,
Ibrahim Al-Nassar.
Benjamin Katzman.
Malik Shamer.
Thomas Sherman.
Justin Liu.
Teo Maikuthan.
Kenny Timmer.
Jasmine Lee.
Kevin Wong.
Namifa Elsa John.
Sarah Lim.
Catherine Yu.
Charjwin Shi.
Urjia Yu.
Karum Shazmate.
Christina Tan.
Shu Li.
Christine Wu.
Luke O'Malley.
Gary Chong.
Matthew Stika.
Jaden Sun.
Samuel Costa.
Alec Bernardi.
Thad Khan.
Leo Choi.
Charles Webb.
John Joe.
Aditya Deer.
Justin Lee.
Michael Waxman.
Alex Jen.
Rishal Mitra.
Frey Subanku.
Ayush Datta.
Janice Liu.
Shah Sadiq.
Elaine Shu.
Farun Mathapan.
Angela Chin Peng.
Joel Huang.
Nicholas Anthony.
Jeremy Shear.
Kyle Kuhn.
Elon Razin.
Sanika Kulkarni.
Rahan Satya III.
Vanessa Ryan.
Luis Blanco.
Yanran Lin.
Lema Samaha.
Xiaoyan Bai.
Jenna Shaw.
David Fan.
Aya Asaf.
Swanan Kanari.
Heiyi Su.
Pengzhou Chen.
Naman Mathur.
Yu Shi Li.
Rishab Kumar.
Jin Huang.
Jawang Zhou.
Xu Tong Lo.
Roja Wan.
Qi Ling.
Dan Milmo.
Zhikai Shu.
Dhruv Mapali.
David Wang.
Ethan Gelnick.
Serena Lee.
Jack Glenn.
Wushu Wang.
Uzan Lemkin.
Morgan Peterson.
Yuntao Shang.
Dexter Kennedy.
Nithisha Kumar.
Jacob Timmerman.
Siddharth Purmore.
Corvi Mathur.
Sophia Tunman.
Omkar Yadav.
Nathan Tuttle.
Radhika Patel.
Alan Mons.
Chunhao Jun.
Kevin Song.
Donglin Yu.
Eric Yu.
Sandra Krosinski.
Ryan Kim.
Jinshuan Pan.
Pranav Kare.
Zhe Yu Lu.
Rohan Gantajala.
Jiang Wang.
Max Ernst.
Emily Wynn.
Surya Balamuragatos.
Koi Win.
Shrikar Padamaban.
Grace Liu.
Anand Zheng.
Timothy Ye.
Eric Lau.
Ethan Flosky.
Oliver Gao.
Jeffrey Shao.
Frank Wong.
Caleb Smith.
Sean Tant.
Yusuf Askar.
Michael Biringilo.
Juhil Butt.
Andrew Zhou.
Josiah Udante.
Jason Deng.
Kenji Wagner.
Siyun Elankumaran.
Nadav Oren.
Colin Cassidy.
Catherine Liang.
Colin McCarricker.
Emerson Rami.
Molly Getz.
Janet Young.
Liam Mulcahy.
Isabel Lien.
Sigourney Acharya.
Faith Tong.
Jake Block.
Jacob Huang,
Michelle Lee,
Cordell Chung,
Benjamin Kim,
Isabel Wang,
Benjamin Jin,
Johnny Sun,
Aruv Srivastava,
Benjamin Collins,
Arez Aziz,
Kaya McGlynn,
Zoe Bank,
Andrew Ye,
Andrea Lesmes,
Jane Shower,
Ajay Pillay,
Vishnu Karthik,
Daniel Chu,
Benjamin Brown,
Vidur Ramanujan,
Jiaji Chun,
Kaming Leung,
John Gitterman,
Autumn Miloser,
Amit Sanjay Akafian,
Kevin Zhu,
Alexander Cole,
Robert Sarab Stanley,
Sanuka Guranik,
Kevin Gruich,
Zaid Al-Shinawi,
Jason Oyan,
Sharia Gupta,
Pranav Ganti,
Koran Janli,
Sai Prashant Vaka,
Fadin Hussain,
Kushal Mari,
William Divorced,
Neil Gupta,
Derek Barry Miller,
Rithi Vaithyanathan,
Joseph Nagel,
Arlie Kaura,
Shrey Sagal,
Tanuj Kohli,
Shub Agrawal,
Chao He,
Sachit Kanacheti,
Singyue Fu,
Casper Gao,
King Yu Poon,
Max Edelman,
Chengling Li,
Diego Machado,
Yushi Zhao,
Aidan Joyce,
Ashrith Bandla,
Josh Dresner,
Victorious Adebayo,
Noah Meislick,
Shara Gundaria,
Maxwell Bederman,
Anant Bajaj,
Akuf Kashyap,
Pari Shah,
Vatsal Joshi,
Marissa Bafsar,
Kaishin Zhao,
Aniket Nanuduri,
Xiaowei Zhou,
Neil Anand,
Jiajing Wang,
Lohit Pula,
Jessica Shunbi,
Nolan Moore,
Yao Xiao,
Eli Witala,
Alexander Maskeni,
Aaron Jacob Bird,
Iris Chen,
Connor McKinley,
Aunik Yuxian Chen,
Isha Call,
Truong
Shreya
Yo,
Varidi,
Yue Wan Hao,
Daniel Mueller,
George Fain,
Sanoja Kikeri,
Rohan Badel,
Rushab Shah,
Kanya Wifichuana,
Yash Podar,
Aaron Abraham Phillip,
Arjun Aurora,
Aknav Mittal,
Sean Patel,
Gunha Panrani,
Egdatha Aramreddy,
Ria Kashyap,
Cameron Remick,
Jacob Harwood,
Anthara Gandhi,
Peijing Li,
Vishu Pentakota,
Kuchian Wang,
Neha Subramanian,
Qing Yao Ju,
Kevin Hua,
Shiyang Zhou,
Kevin G,
Yuhan Yang,
Daniel Lee,
Yijun Li,
Ryan Boring,
Haihan Gao,
Eileen Zhu,
Yushin Kang,
Soumya Natarajan,
Waijin Fan,
Ananya Sharma,
Lucas Sun,
Hussein Lokandwala,
Jin Pan,
Joshua Laya,
Ang Ting Tsai,
Irene Wong,
Xin Yu Bao,
Ryan Schneebaum,
Siyuan Lu,
Colton Hooker,
Zhengwei Wang,
Kipros Yanushka,
Zheng Li,
Adam Gunn,
Hong Xin Chen,
Jason May,
Ming Chen Zhuang,
Emily Tay,
Anuruddha Rao,
Simarpreet Singh,
Hemanth Manem,
Benjamin Estelle,
Josue Anyosa,
Kai Chan,
Fei Wu,
Anthony Lee,
Alex Chong,
Parker Shakta, Michael Shakta,
James Chu,
Alec Paulo,
William Kong,
Allison Swandi,
Aaron Zhang,
Reese Chung,
Ke Ying Ye,
Benjamin Liu,
Ashley Chan,
Henry Xu,
Kei Ying Lin,
Hannah Chang,
Cassandra Go,
Kevin Kim,
Zhao Yuan Jiang,
Elizabeth Yang,
Yi Liang,
Jennifer Lee,
In Yong Chung,
Catherine Lee,
Caroline Wang,
Michael Chen,
Audrey Downing,
Luke Brusso,
Nikki Lagosh,
Sebastian Kaliski,
Akash Vyas,
Alec Bashirs,
Rohit Balampali,
Vanessa Kang,
Shufeng Chen,
Andy Feng,
Weyin Kwok,
Brandon Pham,
Isatur Nasrua Faisal,
Kevin Wong,
Shi Qi Lim,
James Sean Rogan,
Nurin Anissa Musa,
Lillian Marie Schneider,
Fahan Arif Azan,
Ryan Galligan,
Jani Lee,
James Jun,
Yahan Xing,
Chiwan Kim,
Jinghong Du,
Scott Knudsen,
Yang Li,
Benjamin Zhao,
Nangshi Cassie Zhang,
Bright Chu,
Rachit Jain,
Oscar Shiomi Jensen,
John Wegman,
Edison Chu,
Mikhail Weinberg,
Garish Sharma,
Sabrina Shaw,
Maras Kampali,
Savannah Manley,
Alexandra Finkelstein,
Ethan Sterling,
Hannah Kovinsky,
Andrew Wynn,
Julie Krasnick,
Samath Kadambi,
Caroline Belt,
Adam Baird,
Emily Walker,
Ragath Ramesh,
Jordan Schiff,
Avi Patel,
Caroline Creamer,
Ashwin Haribaran,
Brett Smith, Andrew
Ramis Sahil,
Andrew Ferrolo,
Jude Yazbek,
Yuji Mai,
Nihal Kirki,
Kaushik
Ali-
Isukapali,
Ali Amasari,
Nathaniel Aloisi,
Sean Praki,
Hafsa Sultana,
Logan Rose,
Rayan Ahmed,
Tamarakal Moni,
Lily Yang, Christine Zeng,
Sanjana Jain, Jungshun He,
Ishita Desmukh,
Mung Tin Tu,
Shruti Jain,
Shinpei Shu, Shin,
Aditya Vinukonda, Varun Purushothaman, Michelle Ng, Daniel Winnie, Ben Lee, Yao Jiang, Anang Wang, Xingshuang Zhu, and Jian Nang Wang.
Well, let's hear it one more time for the class of 2024. Let's thank our name announcers, and let's thank all the folks, both in front and in behind the scenes, who made this event the wonderful event it has been today. So thank you. Now we will sing the University Alma Mater, the Yellow and Blue. After we sing the Alma Mater, please remain in your seats until the platform party has left the stage. Then please make use of all the available exits when leaving Chrysler Center. Anyone using a wheelchair or with other special mobility needs, please proceed to the northeast or southwest exits. Please follow the directions of event team members stationed around the arena to find the nearest exit. Now, as you are able, please stand for the singing of the Alma Mater. You will find the words on the back of the program.